Good morning. It's Meegan and Charlie, and we are, what is it, like 36 hours from getting our exchange student. She is on her first of 4 flights, because it takes 4 flights to get here from Southeast Asia. So we thought it'd be a great time to talk about and ask Charlie, do another live where we ask Charlie about dad concerns, because that's what we keep hearing. There's a lot of dads that have a lot of fear about hosting. Sometimes it's hard, I feel like, for dads to talk about fears, right? Because it's just hard. And so I found an article on thebump.com that was talking about new dad fears for when they bring home their newborn. So I pulled those 10 things, and we're going to see if these 10 fears of new dads relate to hosting exchange students at all. All right, you ready, Charlie?
Let's go. Let's do
Okay, so number 10. Dads are afraid they won't be able to soothe their kid when they're upset. What do you think? Fear for exchange students?
I mean, not really. Not really about soothing, but I mean, you're dealing with a new kid, new personalities that you don't know, new cultures, and so there could be, I don't know about fear of soothing, but maybe fear of connecting.
Sure.
And how do you, because they're going to have hard days. We ran into with our exchange student the last time with just some hard times for her and how she was dealing with those things. And so, as a dad, like, how do you, and especially since we have a daughter that's 4. So like, how do you deal with teenage daughter for the first time? And I had no idea.
But he rocked it. Oh my gosh, he was so good. There was one time when she was really upset about something, and we were down in our bedroom here talking, and he went to the store, got some dark chocolate because it was her favorite, knocked on the door, and I'm like, Charlie, it's not a good time. It's not a good time. And then we just saw the dark chocolate bar scoot in under the door, and it was it was so perfect because it broke what was hard going on with her, and she just laughed, and it was fantastic. All right, number 9, fear they won't know you as well as the other spouse because you're gone more.
No, not necessarily. Not for me, at least. I mean, it's really no different from my kids.
You're the kids,
right? So yeah, I don't think that's necessarily a big deal.
Okay. Number 8, not being good enough as a dad.
Yeah, again, like I don't know that that's an issue. I mean, it may be like if you're already dealing with those kind of insecurities, it would be really hard. Like I'd already feel like I'm not doing a good job. To then add another person on top of it that I don't know, right, is perhaps, perhaps a big fear for some guys.
Yeah. I think, though, what we've noticed from families abroad is a lot of times dads are even less involved in the lives of their kids in a lot of other places. So the fact that you are involved as much as you are, I think, is a huge testimony, especially to Christian fatherhood, right? We saw that living abroad. All right, number 7. I know this is you. Yes. A fear of crap everywhere.
Yes. Yes.
But Cecilia was so neat and tidy compared to our children. So it really is our kid problem and not an exchange student problem.
Yeah. But, I mean, you still don't know, right? I think a lot of this is just the fear of the unknown. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, number 6. Something will be wrong with the kid.
Oh, for sure. Like, I don't know what... Like, I know my crazy, right? Like, our kids, I know what I'm getting into. But you don't know what's coming, right? If I can deal with my crazy, and sometimes it's like I'm barely dealing with my crazy, to add the unknown crazy that's coming. Like, I don't know, because everybody's got their issues, everybody's got their hang-ups, everybody's got the stuff that they do that's off and weird and whatever, but
yeah,
when you add something on top of that you don't know, and again, I think a lot of this comes down to the fear of the unknown. Like, I don't know what this looks like. Yeah, like you.
So what supports do you say are in place? What have you seen ETC do specifically to try and help families through that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think what you get with ETC is you've got a lot of these LCs, these coordinators who have been doing it for a very long time and have kind of seen a lot of stuff that can kind of walk through that. And even if you've got a really good LC that's kind of connecting you with other families, that if I'm dealing with this crazy and I've got this connection with this other family, that they're dealing with the crazy, right? Like you're not alone, right? Like you've got some support, some connection to help you work through those things. And so this organization's great because you're never alone, right? And they don't want you to be alone, and they really try hard to make sure that you know, hey, like if this is going on, one, like we've dealt with this before, and two, like we're going to help you work through this, and we can come in and be a mediator if we need to be a mediator, and help work through those things. And so, yeah, I mean, everybody's got their crazy, but you know, we've got resources, and you've got people in your corner to kind of help you work through that. And hey, worst case scenario, you can reach out to me because like I'm a dad and I work at a church now, but like I did law enforcement for 10 years. And so if there's crazy out there, I promise you I've walked through it and dealt with it.
It's not as bad as exchange student crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, number 5, I don't know if this applies, but they would say lack of sleep, but I would say different sleep habits. What do you think with teenagers?
I don't know. I feel like teenagers are teenagers, right? They, you know, depending on what kind of teenager you get from where, right? I don't think that's it. Now, I will say perhaps if dads feel like they're already maxed out, right? Like I've given all the energy I have from work and now with my kids, like I don't have the extra energy to give to another person, especially if I'm going to feel guilty that I'm taking it away from my biological kids or whatever to then give it to this other kid. But
did you find that to be the case?
No, like not at all. Like was I tired? Yeah, I was always tired, but you know, I think you know, Cecilia was so good at integrating into our family that I wasn't adding or taking away from anywhere. She was just so naturally a part of our family that you know, it was a little awkward at first, but really, you know, a few weeks in, like she was just a part of our family, and it wasn't like I was adding or taking away from anything. It was just so natural. Yeah,
and she fit with our kids, like you said. So it actually gave us some space to be able to recharge our batteries sometimes, I feel like, because especially our littlest is very emotional about all the things.
And very needy. And very, like, wants to be around you and touch you and all of those things. And
Big sister was fantastic for, you know, like we needed to go take a shower and wanted to do that in peace kind of a thing. Okay, 4, I'll be forced to give up some of my fun.
No, not necessarily. I mean, and in fact, if you, in some ways, if you can find a student, especially if you've got young kids and you've got a hobby or something that you really like to do that they're not ready for, if you can get the right student, man, not only are you not giving up fun that you already had, but you've potentially now got somebody to do it with, or maybe they're interested in doing it, and you can take them along and introduce them to whatever that is. And no, I don't think you're giving up any fun.
I think we got actually more creative because we were like, you know, we want to show her some of the cool stuff here. So on weekends when we'd probably have been more lazy or laid back because it's, you know, we just have plenty of time to see all of Missouri, right? That we were actually a little bit more creative because we wanted to make sure she got to see some things and we knew her time was short. Mm-hmm. All right, number 3, our entire life will be centered around the children.
No. I mean, no more than they already are.
It already kind of is. Yeah. It really is kind of a thing already.
Yeah.
Okay. 2, I won't be able to provide for the student.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a huge one, right? Especially, I think as a dad and as a husband, you feel the weight of having to provide for your family. And so, especially if you already feel like things are really tight, to add a person seems like, no, like we can't do that, because I won't be able to provide and care for. And then the added stress of, this is somebody else's child, right? And so I really need to make sure that they're being taken care of, because I would want the same thing for my kids if the roles were reversed, right?
So how did we deal with that? Because we have a tight budget.
Yeah, I mean, it now, granted, we had a teenage daughter, right? Totally different from teenage boy. Yeah, it really didn't add much to anything, and so we ate like we would normally eat, and maybe just buy a little bit extra of that. But if there were things that she wanted that we wouldn't normally do, she bought, and
Yeah.
it was on her. And
Dark
so,
chocolate and raspberries and the
Yeah.
good bread.
yeah, and so if
And the $10 nail polish. Why would you do that? I don't know.
So yeah, but I can get that one. It's I think in some ways legitimate worry, but I think in practice it's not really a legitimate worry, right? Like, things were fine, and we didn't really feel the pinch. We didn't really feel it. So yeah.
Yeah, for girls, I feel like it's hair products like shampoo and conditioner and body wash.
Yeah.
That's where we really noticed we were buying more of stuff, but the other stuff not necessarily. I think with teenage boys, it's obviously food. That's it. That's going to be where you'll feel it
but
more.
like with the teenage boys, when they were with us, like the 50-cent ramen noodle packs, they loved. And
They
we
did.
went through a lot of them, and they were cheap, and it wasn't really a big deal.
Yeah, and we learned not to put all of the food you had on the table, because they will eat whatever you put on the table. So if you just withhold some of the food, so you might have leftovers the next day, they won't eat all of that. All right, last one, Chucky. The fear that I'll mess this up.
Yeah, I think that goes a little bit with the last one. And I think when you're dealing with somebody else's kid, somebody else's child, like, it's one thing if I mess my own kids up, and I don't want to do that. But then to know, hey, this is somebody else's, and maybe this goes back to, I won't be able to sue them, or I don't know what their problems are, and so maybe it just comes down to kind of a fear. I think I said this, a fear of the unknown, right? And if you, and maybe some fear of inadequacies or whatever in your own self. But yeah, like you don't want to mess it up. But I think the reality is, like, these kids are coming over. They know it's going to be different, right? And at the end of the day, I don't know, right?
They're joining a family. That's how we
Yeah.
advertise it. You're joining an American family. You're not joining a travel club. You're not joining a YouTube-worthy experience. You're not entering High School Musical, right? And so they want a true American family experience, which means it's going to be busy. It's going to be messy. It's going to be on the go. It's going to, at some point, be tense, because you're going to be upset with them and they're going to be upset with you, because that happens with your own kids, right? Like, nobody 100% likes their children all of the time, right? Maybe love them all the time, not always like them. Yeah. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, I think, when we hosted, when Meegan first brought this up to me last October, November, something like that, we were looking at a move coming up. And not like a move across town. We were moving halfway across the country. And I was just going through thinking all of the logistical stuff and just saying, nope, it's not going to work. We can't do it. We're not going to do it. It's terrible timing.
And it was.
It was, yeah, it was awful timing. But looking back, there was some stress initially, right? In my desire to provide for my family and to provide for this student that was coming, and, are we going to have it? Are we going to be able to do it? But I think on going through it, on the flip side, like, I just see in me, like, I'm better as a dad and as a husband, because we've hosted, and I've had to adjust and grow, and so that's been good. And for my family in general, I think we're just healthier, we're stronger. Seeing my kids grow as they've adapted and had to learn kind of a new person and a new culture, and just the good that it does for them. And I think as a dad, and you're looking through things, and you're trying to weigh the pros versus the cons, and all of those things too. Right? There's always going to be cost associated with everything you do, regardless of what it is, and having to weigh costs versus benefits. And I think hosting is just one of those things where there's going to be cost associated, like time and financial and all of those things, just with everything that we do in your own family. But the benefits that I have seen just kind of working through this and hosting and I've found in general the benefits outweigh the cost, and
Like
really
vastly outweigh.
my fear of what those costs were going to be on the front end before we had hosted weren't really that big of a cost, right? And so it's if I'm like, it's like I got this estimate, and the estimate was a lot high, like really high, and then we go through this project and realize, oh, it really wasn't that much. And so yeah, I mean, it was worth it, regardless of my concerns or fears or really pretty strong objections on the front end. I don't regret hosting, and we're hosting again, and we'll continue to host, I think, moving into the future. So
Yeah. Thanks, sweetie. If you have any questions for Charlie, or if you're the spouse that wants to host and your husband has some other things that he, like legitimate objections or fears, just let me know about that, and Charlie would be happy to respond and kind of work through that. He is great at being honest all of the time, even if it's he's just honest. He's an honest guy, so he'd be happy to address whatever the questions are. Thanks, sweetie.
yeah.
See y'all. Have a great day.